I'll call the meeting to order. Here in motion to accept the minutes of the October 13th, 2021 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Second discussion. None, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. So Mark, you said you didn't hear from Jennifer, right?
I did not hear anything.
There's somebody you could check with to see if she's still interested. Just call her. We haven't heard from her quite a few meetings. All right, under communications, we've got the summary for the October 2021.
Put it up here. All right, so for the operating report, we average 3.5 million gallons a day, remove 98.6% BOD, 98.7% suspended solids. Nitrogen removal was almost 87%. And we're getting, as the flow has gone down, we're getting close to being under that permit again. We're only within 12 of it this time. Cake solids were 21.3, and this was the last month we had for phosphorus, so we are not having any phosphorus permits until April 1st of next year. Any questions on that?
So give us a little background, because I know this is the first year I remember hearing that, so we just don't test.
Yeah, so basically October 31st to April 1st, we don't test E. coli, so we don't run the UVs, and we don't test phosphorus, so those are both off. And E. coli is pretty much, I mean, the idea has always been if there's not a lot of people fishing or swimming in the river, most plants don't disinfect in the winter. At phosphorus, we just don't have the amount that we typically have in the spring. Typically, you'll see it from fertilizer and everything else in the summer, so the state doesn't require that during the winter months.
So it's in pretty good shape, very good shape.
Yep.
Nothing to stay out of the river.
Yeah,
In the winter months.
right. I don't know how many
Okay.
people are swimming this time of year.
If you want to do the penguin plunge, you can do it.
Why do you drill those?
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
So the nitrogen though.
Yep.
That also in the cold weather, that's affected, right?
Yeah, so what typically happens with nitrogen, I mean, not doing a crazy process, but typically everything slows down in the winter, even the bugs, the reproduction, everything. So this time of year, we start building up the solids, they're higher. So we have more solids to do the same amount of work as a microbiology would typically do in the summer, because everything is less active because it's cold. It's no different than like some animals that go to hibernate. Typically, the growth rate and everything slows down in the winter. So right now we're increasing the mixed liquor. And whereas we were using that primary fermentation tank we used for phosphorus, now we're going to use that for nitrogen only to kind of give it a boost for the winter. So
So increase the food, is that essentially?
just give it more food.
Yeah.
Because basically so denitrification, there's only two ways you can do it. You need an anoxic zone and you need food. So that food can be what comes into the plant, could be a carbon source, could be methanol, ethanol, glycol, any of that.
Use the solid we have.
Exactly. So, and your nitrogen is only as good as the food you have coming into the plant. So at a certain point, you have to have a carbon source to get more food in, but carbon costs money. And then if you have something like methanol that works really well, then you have safety issues. So we're trying to do it all naturally, which is working pretty well so far. So we're going to keep utilizing that tank that we made.
And then we've got the engineer report for October.
So we cleaned out, actually, I'll do that one after, because I attached the pictures. We cleaned out the Patrick Flood wet well.
A good job.
Yeah, it's a really big job. But I was laughing because Peter would always ask, what's in the well? What do you find in there? It's like, well, when you look in the pictures, it's like you can see what's in there. We put a pickup to it to kind of give you an idea of how much is in there, but I'll get into that after I go over this. So we cleaned that. Tungus, we pulled pump 2. We also cleaned the wet well there before the winter. Centerbrook, we pulled pump 1. We did find some debris in the pump, cleaned it and reset it. South Road, we put a new CPU in it. All of our stations here are radio control, so there's antennas on the stations and they basically go up the hill from West Farms to South Road to here. So we just replaced that because we were getting faults on it. Sometimes it's either the battery or you just need a new CPU. We cleaned the Patrick Flood wet well on October 6th, 2021. It's a 2-day project. We have to bypass the station. We get McVac. They actually go down in there, clean everything out. We do it every 2 to 3 years. Some stations you don't really have to clean as much, but this is the only suction lift station we have. So in the pictures, you can see that the actual pumps, that's where the pumps are pulling from, but the pumps are 18 feet above where that suction is. So before you clean the station, those pumps are essentially pulling through almost like a mop head. So as much as you prime the pumps, there's compressors on the top of the building that are priming the system constantly so you get all the air out. But when you have that much debris on the bottom, it doesn't matter how much you prime, you're constantly sucking in that. And like I said, this is cleaned religiously now every 2 to 3 years after we kind of discovered how to keep it running efficiently. This was the majority of the problem. It's a split wet well, but that green PVC you can see on the top right is where the water actually comes in. And then this was an older part of the wet well on the bottom side where it used to come in, and the suction side is where they put in the new wet well. So it's kind of a split wet well, but you can see how we have to set the bypass up. We have 2 pumps in case one fails. And then the manhole in the center, there's where the suction lines actually go. So it is a pretty big project, but without doing it, it really wreaks havoc on that station, which is why I don't like suction lift stations. Go back up. We also cleaned the Devonwood and Tungus wet wells, Corporate Road and Hyde Road. We're going to schedule for this month. In fact, we already cleaned Corporate. We continue to clear right-of-ways and jet as weather permitted. Once it gets under 32, we can't really jet because the truck will freeze, but if it's above, we try to go out there. So we're kind of trying to finish up for the year. We cleared right-of-ways, Devonwood to Cambridge Crossing, down by Woodruff Road. Stonegate were also jetted. And then Pratt Lane Pond to the Exchange, Peggy Lane right-of-ways were cleared. We bought a new sewer camera. We used it to inspect the sinkhole on Route 4, right in front of Farmington Inn and Suites. It wasn't any of our lines. I'll actually put that in the report next month, kind of show you what the video looks like. It came out really good. So now we actually don't have to outsource a lot of our videos. We can do it in-house, which is a huge bonus.
Is Bradley Pond Road all hooked up to sewer, all those homes?
I think so, but I got to verify on that. I'm 99% sure. We cleaned and inspected the weirs on all the aeration tanks in preparation for winter. Final 2 is online after we inspected and performed all the maintenance. We double checked all the torque after we had the issue last year with it. We continue working on the blower programming. We found a couple discrepancies with the valves and the PLC program. So the way the program works, and I don't want to confuse or bore you guys with it, but it goes off the header pressure and CFM. So the blower is constantly looking at the pressure and saying, okay, I need to add more flow or I need to add less flow. So in essence, you're just trying to maintain the deal for the oxygen in the organisms. So to put it into like an easy kind of description, all the blowers need to do is if the bugs require more air, the blower turns up. If they require less air, it turns down. But there's 12 different valves that are consistently modulating and the pressure is going up and down. So there's pretty much 18 different set points at any given time. So we're really trying to fine tune it to prevent some of the spikes that we have, which are causing issues. Because one of the things we did find was it runs perfect. It looks like an EKG. And then at 3 in the morning, you get a call and all the blowers are off. And what's happening was one of the valves that were modulating was getting stuck. So the pressure went through the roof because it had nowhere to vent. And then everything would trip and it wouldn't restart. So we found a couple of those problems in the program. We fixed it. We also checked all the wires to the MOVs and found one that had froze between now and the planned upgrade. And when it freezes, it stretches it and thaws. So the wire was exposed, so it's causing a communication fault. So we're pretty much done with that, but it takes time to find them. We pulled the oil pump, just to inspect it, didn't find any issues and put it back online. All the oil filters and oil was changed on ration blowers 2 and 3. The turbo actuator on the vac truck was replaced at Peterbilt, which was funny because nobody has parts for anything now. So our truck, Plainville's, Avon's, and I think it was Canton's, were all in at the same time for the same part. We disassembled primary pump 2 after finding a leak in the seal. We did find wear on the lobes, basically the same as the dewatering pump. I have reached out to Wright Pierce on this because these were the pumps that we had all the issues with. I had basically a conference call with them. So we're gonna weigh some options and see what they can do, because I kind of foresee this as being an issue with those pumps, which is nothing we didn't expect, but I kind of want to put them on notice for it because I feel like they bear some of that responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
So next month I should have an update for that as well. And that's it. Any questions? I can go into the lateral report. I had September on here, but I realized I had that last month too, so I can go right into October. The only ones I got from Bruce here was fees were collected and paid to MDC. And Tanbark Trail and Stevens Circle, same thing, fees collected and building permit for Stevens Circle.
Yorkshire Court, over in the, you kind of help them?
Yes,
And checking everybody in at the polls, I mean, you hear streets you've never heard of before.
yes.
I don't know where a good place to put it is, but any updates, whatever, on Avon and
Not that I've heard, it's actually been pretty quiet, because I usually get all the emails on it. I don't think Russ has spoken with them too much this month. But I haven't heard anything new other than what we had, so.
as far as the other towns, the Burlington,
Yep.
nothing.
No, they've been, I mean, they always pay, so we don't have an issue with them. We are doing, we're gonna do some smoke testing out there by the lake. And then we did some flow meter testing too, so I should have those results back I'm gonna say probably the end of this month, December. So I can put them in the next report too.
But there's nothing outstanding with Burlington on the,
No, I don't believe so, because I just did Burlington billing. Burlington is billed quarterly, but then it goes out once a year, so they pay in July. And then we got paid and everything was all right.
just to get that on track here. Any new business?
No.
No, and we covered the Patterson.
I can just take that out actually. 'Cause- Yep.
Unfinished business. Yep. For public correspondence. Always one letter, we haven't had any order complaints.
No, and we put the permanganate on at West Farms again, just in case, because it got warmer, and then we do have the ozone system running, so we haven't had any complaints, so, which is good. And then I met with DPC Engineering yesterday, which will be in next month's meeting, just discussing ideas for odor control down the road or other stations in the future that would go to Patterson, so that should help with that too.
Any updates? I was at a veterans luncheon yesterday.
Yep.
Any updates with our
Flag.
flag?
I have not heard any. I asked Russ, and I think I told you, he reached out to their project manager and
Yeah,
nothing yet.
nothing.
I can tell you the covers are still all off.
They are
And
still all.
Yep. Yep.
Only been a year.
that's nice. I was like, I thought they were working on something because they kept them off and everything was locked up in there, but
Who's paid for nothing?
Well, the the town, but they pay the town for and the
Yeah.
equipment on the pole, so.
Yeah.
So there must be paying.
They gotta have something.
So,
And I know when we reached out, there was, the manager said, oh, I was told it was done. And then when we called the site supervisor, he said, oh, I didn't think we were done. So there was some miscommunication somewhere along the lines. But I don't, as to where, I'm not sure. But I'll keep asking.
yeah, were you guys on Garden Street today?
We were,
Yeah.
we,
What was the?
we were at the apartments,
Yeah.
right after Hobart Street.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it
It
was,
was from Phil's house.
yeah, literally.
How did I miss that?
Yeah.
Well, we were parked way in the back. So we got a call from CJ Thomas actually, because he's right by our right of way that goes along the river.
Yeah.
And it must have been the last storm or whatnot. It washed out pretty substantially. There's probably only about 6 feet of soil left. I can show you a picture on my phone. There's 6 feet of soil left between where the actual sewer pipe is and where their actual basin used to go out to the river. So we're looking at ways to basically.
On Hobart Street now, though? Are you talking
No,
about-
right on the right of way down by the river, but behind the apartment.
Yes, yeah, in the old.
So, yeah, if you're where like Hobart is, you're more towards the left, almost directly behind the apartments, but.
Yeah, in the canals,
Yeah.
in the old, canal. Yeah.
So it washed out pretty good.
We watched that.
So that's not like the sewer, that's like the old pipe going down to the river. But if we're gonna do it right, we probably have to end up putting some fill in there. Here's another shot, you can see where the right of way is. So it's right on that side.
Well, where are the condos there in?
They are gonna be, the river's there, right? On the
Yeah.
left side, so the condos are up there on the left.
Okay, well,
You're right,
okay, so then this is the old canal here.
correct.
Okay, yeah, this is the canal. So it's that far down, so then, where was that other picture, in,
This is looking down right where we put all the fence up,
the fence up?
so looking down towards the river.
So practically right on the river then.
Yeah, so we were looking at it and we were kind of trying to guess, we're like, well, I wonder how high the river got because that hole is 14 and a half feet. Well, I wonder if it was up that high. And we looked across the river and there's a bag in a tree wrapped around the branches
Yeah.
at almost the same height. So that river was literally up that high, which it was. I'm trying to remember the flood. And I think it must have just swirled in that little thing and just kept eating it away. So we're gonna try to get back there. The best thing would be is to get all the trees and the wood out, because anytime the tree falls, it's pulling up an area half the size of this room. It's just adding to it. Smooth it out and then put some gravel and try to fill, but you can't get trucks back
I
there.
was just gonna say, how are you gonna get access?
The best idea was if we get some triaxles on Hobart and then take the Bobcat from Hobart down the right of way, and it's gonna be days of back and
Back
forth.
and forth.
But that'd be the best way to do it, because I wouldn't even trust driving like a 150 back there at this point, not until that's full. The rest of it is okay, but not in that area, so that's why we were back there.
Can you get away without a retaining wall of some kind?
Maybe, we gotta kind of do some tests to see how unstable it is, like farther back in. Because even like some of that slope, it's almost like, if you're standing here, it's curved in. So it could almost go another 3 feet, and then there's a big tulip tree that's probably 4 feet in diameter that's leaning, so that root ball is probably, like I said, half the size of this room, so that's gonna go in, so. We'll get it, we had that issue at Pequavic and we ended up filling and doing a lot of work, so we'll figure something out. I mean, I think the main line's okay for the time being, because that's set back, but we're gonna have to eventually fill it, so.
Okay, any other business? Hearing none, I hear a motion adjourned. So moved. This has been second, any discussion? None, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.